Good morning. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com.
And I'm Brittany Umar, and together we bring you Morning Call Express. So we're seeing mixed markets around the world, but mostly to the downside. Our futures down about 8 handles at last check after closing on highs yesterday. So some mixed signals here, Scott. Seems like it makes for a complicated trading environment.
It does, because we walked in yesterday, futures were up, had a pretty strong day. Pretty much the market was trying to price in on whether or not the government shutdown was priced in. But then I think as the day went on and throughout the night, people are starting to realize that it's not going to be a one-day headline type event, that it could actually go all the way to the potential debt ceiling, which is October 17th. So that means you have to listen to this every single day and see all the politicians paraded in front of Washington. But anyway, on the flip side, which is somewhat positive, is that they might put together this big deal with the debt ceiling that finally could potentially kick that can, somewhere where it's not going to come back, where we're in the same debate, 3, 6, 9 months from now.
So why don't you show us the levels you're watching in the S&P?
All right, so for traders who actually got a little comfortable yesterday because of the action, you're probably coming in long and you have to figure out what to do. As far as the S&P, if you look at the chart, you will see that it did turn up. Here's the trend that we've been talking about and tracking since November. Here's where we started to turn up, after having this false breakout. So if you took some risk off here, maybe you've tried to put some back on there. So I would say, I think things are okay, and I would remain with this somewhat bullish bias as long as we stay above this 1682 and that pivot is 1674. And then with some time, okay, perhaps we do clear this trend line, but I do think the market's going to need a lot of work and a lot of clarity.
It was a strong day yesterday with the Russell and Tech setting new 2013 highs. And the Russell is one group that we always say that we watch for clues about market directions. That was a good sign.
Yeah, and that's probably why some traders got comfortable, like myself, coming in, decently long, where you have the Russell at 2013 highs and technology. You look at both of them, and it gives you some bullish signals. You look here, and this is the trend that's been intact, and then look at this breakout at 2013 highs. That is bullish, especially if you're in this group. Same thing with technology. Technology at 2013 highs, probably at like multi-year highs. So look at that. So again, some clues, to have some risk on. And then on the flip side, real quickly, you have the financials, which is keeping everyone honest because they have been somewhat a laggard, obviously not near 2013 highs. So, there's some reasons to be bullish, some reasons to be bearish. I think it's very stock specific. And as long as you're in the leaders, hopefully in a down tape like today, you get a way out and maybe buyers come back if it's not, that stock specific.
Well, speaking of the leaders, as we just mentioned, tech at new 2013 highs. Yesterday, we had high beta names like Amazon and Netflix also making new 2013 highs. And,
it shows you have to be in the right place, right time. Sometimes you could throw a dart, sometimes you have to be specific. And if you look at Amazon, it's at 2013 highs. We talked about the relative strength of this situation. I did a video yesterday, which you could look at on the site. New 2013 highs. So with this down a little bit, perhaps you could be a buyer, and if it trades above 321, you could see a day 2 to this breakout. Netflix also very, very strong. Look at this trend. Okay, it doesn't have any idea that that Washington is in a circus right now, following the 8-day at highs. So if this is off a little bit, maybe as a trader, look to that for a potential new buy to clear 324. So there are things that went out on their highs yesterday. So if you went out long them with the down open, see if you could, dibble or dabble a little bit on it if you see relative strength. But if it's a trap and you all of a sudden see relative weakness and it can't rally, salvage the trade and revisit it.
Well, how much will Google be on your radar today? Because we did see Google manage to post about 1.25% of gains yesterday, get back above its 100-day. Looks like it's really trying to come back.
It's trying, and this is still not an A-plus trade. It's still kind of basing, but ultimately the action looks good. And I like when they reclaim their moving averages. It takes the resistance out of the way. So if you look at this chart, you're talking about a 6-month upper base held higher. So you have a low and a higher low, and it closed relatively strong. So with that being said, perhaps with a down open, look for some type of divergence, and you could buy it. And then if it goes above yesterday's high of 887, it can continue. But this is your macro little downtrend that it needs to really clear to get, really cooking. I would say if Google's any good, it should hold about 880.
And Apple had a good day yesterday as well, about 2.4% of gains. What will you be looking at with Apple today?
Yesterday, finally, after like a 5-day pullback, it triggered. We talked about it having to get above what 481-ish to start looking better, and it did so, and it actually gave you multiple areas to get involved. This is your lower base. Here is that first move that we tried to play, and it worked out pretty well. Then it came back, tested this breakout, and now that's your first wide range bar. Uncle Carl came out yesterday after dinner with Timmy and said that, things, they're going to try and get this huge buyback, and there was an article today in the Wall Street Journal about, I think it has 10% of the cash out there. So anyway, I'm long Apple. I'm long a few things. You can see it on the VTF. Hopefully, it goes from negative to positive, and if it gets above 489.14 today in the weakness, I think that would be very bullish, and then we'll start to look at this, trend line area, which comes into resistance around 495.
And we'll be talking about all this and more in the full morning call, so stay with us.